You touch that cable again and you're going to regret it. That's what I said. Calm, steady, but loud enough for the whole street to hear. And that was my last warning before I realized just how deep this rabbit hole went. Because the guy crouched beside my house, yeah, he wasn't a technician. He wasn't a curious neighbor lending a hand. He was a fake HOA cop, and he just cut the main cable to my federally licensed ham radio. Saturday mornings in Sycamore Ridge usually sound like a postcard. Sprinklers ticking, lawnmowers yawning awake, kids dragging bikes down the sidewalk. But not that morning. That morning, all I heard was silence. My ham rig had gone dead mid-transmission. One second, I was trading weather reports with a storm spotter 2 states over. The next, static gone, meters flat, and the faint, ugly smell of burnt insulation curling through the air. Equipment doesn't fail that cleanly, unless someone helps it along. So I stepped outside, and there he was. Some guy in a black tactical vest with HOA cop slapped across the back in crooked vinyl. His cheap sunglasses couldn't hide the guilt dripping off his face. He froze mid-cut, the wire still swinging loose. Morning, he said, trying way too hard to sound official. You're in violation of neighborhood guidelines. Unauthorized installation. I stared. You just cut a federally licensed communication line. He blinked. I was told to handle it. By who? I asked. President Grant, he muttered. Linda Grant. She said, cut it down if you won't cooperate. Oh, I knew that name. Linda Grant, self-appointed queen of Sycamore Ridge. The kind of woman who thinks running a Facebook group makes her homeland security. She'd been after me for months. Letters, threats, fines that weren't even legal. She called my tower an eyesore, then a radiation hazard, then a community risk. What she didn't understand? My setup wasn't a toy. It was a federally registered emergency relay point with the county's disaster network. But she didn't care. She just wanted power. And that's when I realized this wasn't about radio waves. It was about control. Before we go any further, comment where in the world you are watching from, and make sure to subscribe to Silent Divide Tales, because tomorrow's story is one you don't want to miss. I looked at the wire he just cut, clean, deliberate, then back at him. That's a federally licensed ham setup, I said slowly. Not your neighbor's garden light. You just committed a felony. His lip twitched, but he tried standing taller, puffing his chest like he was auditioning for a police show. This neighborhood doesn't care what you think is licensed, he shot back. The HOA has full jurisdiction. I almost laughed. Not over the FCC, it doesn't. He smirked, like he'd rehearsed this line. Buddy, I don't think you understand who you're talking to. Oh, I understood perfectly. A wannabe tough guy with a fake badge and more confidence than common sense. So I stepped closer. No, I said quietly. You don't understand what you just did. He didn't move, just stood there, spinning those wire cutters in his hand like a toy. Can you believe this clown actually thought that vest made him bulletproof? But then I saw it, that tiny flicker of defiance in his eyes. He wasn't going to back down. I'm not leaving, he muttered finally, his voice shaky but stubborn. I'm just following orders. That's when I lost my patience. What you just damaged, I told him, is federal property. You're not trespassing anymore. You're tampering with a licensed communication system. That's 5 years in prison and a $50,000 fine. His hand twitched on the cutters. You think you can scare me with laws? He said, forcing a laugh that didn't match his face. I tilted my head. No, I said, but reality will. He exhaled sharply, like he was trying to fake calm, and said, I'm doing my job. You can file a complaint with the HOA board. Complaint? Buddy, I said, pointing up at the eaves, I'm documenting a crime scene. His eyes followed my finger, right to the glowing red light of my security camera. And that's when the smirk melted. Funny, I added. That's what people always say right before they find out they're on film. He froze, the color draining from his face. Wait, he stammered. You can't. Too late, I cut in. So what's the plan? Cut one wire, go brag on the HOA Facebook page, or were you hoping for a promotion from Linda the dictator? He clenched his jaw, trying to hide the panic. You don't understand, he said. She told me it was illegal, that the HOA had clearance. Clearance? I almost laughed again. The HOA doesn't override the federal government. That's when his eyes darted toward the street. The first sign that maybe, just maybe, he'd realized Linda Grant had thrown him straight under the bus. You really think she's going to back you up when this hits court? I asked. He didn't answer. His shoulders slumped just slightly, pride still there, but the courage was leaking out. Then he stepped back, chin lifted again like he was trying to convince himself he was still in control. I was told to do it, he muttered, and I'll finish the job. That did it. I closed the distance between us in 2 strides, grabbed his wrist just above the cutters, and said quietly, "You move that blade again, and you'll wish the law got to you before I did." His eyes widened. You can't threaten an officer." I almost laughed. "You're not an officer. You're a trespasser in a polyester vest." We stood there inches apart. The air was thick enough to chew. Neither of us blinked. Neither of us moved. Then it happened. A sound that made my stomach drop. Engines, low, synchronized, unmistakable. He glanced over my shoulder, and I watched the confidence drain out of his face like someone pulled the plug. I didn't even have to turn around. I knew that sound. Government-grade SUVs, 3 of them, rolling slow down a suburban street. When I finally looked back, I couldn't help the grin. 3 black Suburbans slid to a stop in front of my house, and the air changed. Doors opened. Boots hit the pavement. The lead agent stepped forward, badge flashing sunlight, Federal Communications Commission, Enforcement Division. Now that was real authority. The fake HOA cop went pale as printer paper. "Sir," the agent called out, calm but firm, "step away from that wire." He didn't move, didn't even breathe, because in that single moment, it hit him. The HOA couldn't save him now. The agents didn't come in shouting. They didn't have to. Their presence alone made the whole street go still. He slowly lifted his trembling hands, backing away from the cut cable. "Hands where we can see them," the agent ordered. He obeyed. And just like that, all the arrogance melted right off his face. 2 agents moved in, one securing the cutters, the other unclipping that ridiculous HOA cop patch from his vest. And I swear, under that real federal badge light, his little costume looked like something out of a discount Halloween bin. One of the agents turned to me. "Sir, you reported interference earlier this week?" "Yeah," I said, pointing to the cable. "That's my line." He cut it mid-transmission. The agent crouched, inspecting the severed coax. His gloved fingers traced the damage. "This isn't a local issue anymore," he said, straightening. "This line carries a federal license. Cutting it falls under willful interference with communications. That's a felony." The man's knees nearly buckled. "I didn't know," he stammered. "I was just following orders." "Whose orders?" the agent asked. He hesitated, then whispered the name like it burned. "Linda Grant, the HOA president." The lead agent's jaw tightened. "You might want to hope she's got a good lawyer," he said flatly. And just like that, the dominoes started falling. Within 20 minutes, my quiet little street looked like a movie set. 3 more black SUVs, a county cruiser, even a mobile evidence van parked along the curb. Neighbors who used to side with Linda peeked out from behind curtains, clutching their coffee mugs like binoculars. Linda Grant, the self-crowned queen of Sycamore Ridge, had finally picked a fight she couldn't moderate her way out of. When the agents reached her house, she came storming out, clutching her clipboard like it was a weapon. "This is harassment," she snapped, voice trembling but loud enough for the HOA chat group to hear from a mile away. One agent didn't even flinch. "Ma'am, ordering someone to tamper with federal communications is conspiracy to commit a felony." She froze mid-sentence. The color drained from her face. "Federal communications," he repeated, "not under your jurisdiction." Her voice cracked. "He was endangering the community." The agent raised an eyebrow. "By transmitting weather reports?" That shut her up. Then came the moment everyone on the street had been waiting for, the warrant. Presented, signed, and very, very real. Phones came out. Cameras rolled. Not one of her loyal HOA followers said a single word. Even the fake cop just stared at the pavement, whispering, "I didn't know. I didn't know." But he knew now. By evening, both of them were in custody. The charges stacked higher than Linda's ego. Tampering with federally licensed communications, impersonation of law enforcement, conspiracy to commit property damage. The man got 5 years in prison and a $25,000 fine. Linda Grant, 8 years federal time, $60,000 restitution, and a permanent ban from holding any community office again. Her so-called HOA enforcement division collapsed overnight. The county seized the accounts, the fake signs came down, and Sycamore Ridge finally breathed again. I spent the next week rebuilding my setup. The moment that low hum returned, that perfect, steady frequency filled my room like peace itself. That night, as a storm rolled through, I keyed up my mic and broadcasted weather updates across 3 counties. Same as always. And you know what? It hit me. Some people build towers to help others, while others tear them down just to feel tall. Linda Grant tore hers down herself, because when you mess with federal lines, you cut your own freedom. That's today's story from Silent Divide Tales. If you believe karma always finds its way, no matter how long it takes, hit that like, tap subscribe, and share this story with someone who's dealt with a Linda of their own. See you in the next tale. And trust me, tomorrow's story, you won't see that twist coming.